Okay, so by now you know that we are not plagiarizing. We are never going to plagiarize ever again. How do we avoid that? First, we need to learn and memorize 3 rules. The first rule has to do with when you want to use the words of anyone else. If you're using anyone else's words. Okay, so our first rule that we want to learn and memorize this rule is going to be, if you use anyone else's words, you must give them credit by using quotations, an in-text citation, and a reference. Okay, that definition again, if you use anyone else's words, you must give them credit by using quotations, in-text citation, and a reference. So there are 3 elements. And for my law students, remember that an element is something, every element must be met. Okay, so if you want to avoid plagiarism and you want to use someone else's words, you must include all 3 elements. You must do a quotation around the words that you want to use. You must do an in-text citation, also called an inline citation, at the end of that applicable part, whether it be the end of the sentence or the end of a sentence and a half, however many words you're using, whenever you're done using the words, put an in-text citation. At the very bottom or the next page, if it's a longer passage, at the end of your writing, you need to have some kind of reference, right? A reference list to provide the full information on where someone could go and find that information if they wanted to look at it themselves. So that is the first of 3 definitions that you absolutely must remember. Okay, so the first one deals with if you want to use someone else's words. The next rule is going to be if you want to use someone's thoughts, ideas, or concepts. Thoughts, ideas, or concepts. So in this rule, you're not using their actual words, their verbatim words, or any of their words. You're not even trying to use their words and flip them or twist them or swap them out using a thesaurus. They're completely your own words, but you're using the idea or concept or thoughts of someone else. You're using their research. You're using something that they've come up with that is beneficial to you. And here is that rule. If you use anyone else's thoughts, ideas, or concepts, you must give them credit. 2 elements here. A citation and a reference. A citation and a reference. That rule again, if you use anyone else's thoughts, ideas, or concepts, you must give them credit by an in-text citation and a reference. Notice that in our first rule with the words, we had to use quotation marks also. That's because anytime you use anything verbatim, if you're using their words verbatim, you need to put it in quotation marks. If you're not using their words and you're just using their thoughts, ideas, and concepts, you don't need quotation marks because you're not using anything verbatim. If there are even just a few words that are verbatim, maybe a short string or 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, or if it's one important word, put it in quotation mark. Okay, so if it's a word or words that can be traced back to the original source, put it in quotation marks. That's for our words. Okay, our thoughts, ideas, and concepts have 2 elements, 2 things that absolutely must be met. You have to provide an in-text citation and a reference. If you don't have both of these things, it's plagiarism. Okay, so 3 elements for our first definition, 2 elements for our second definition. All right, our third rule that you absolutely must know and memorize is going to be a combination, right? What if you want their words, which entails their thoughts, ideas, and concepts? Okay, so unless you're using just 2 or 3 words and then everything else came from your own brain, or a short passage and everything else came from your brain, a lot of times when you use the words, it's really hard to separate the words from the ideas and concepts that produce the words. So a lot of times if you're using the words, like it all goes together. It is really hard to separate them out, though there are some instances where it's possible. If you want to use their words, ideas, thoughts, concepts, all of it, you're going to have the following rule. It's basically just a combination, right? So we know that there are 3 things that you could have to do, right? The most you could ever have to do to give someone else credit is quotation marks, an in-text citation, and a reference. There are 3 at the most. So if you use their words, whether or not the words include their thoughts, ideas, and concepts, you have to include all 3 things. So it makes sense that when you combine these and you use their words and their thoughts, ideas, and concept, you would still just use the 3 things. Okay, so the definition for that is if you use anyone else's words and their thoughts, ideas, or concepts, you must give them credit by using, and you know the 3 items, quotation marks, in-text citation, and a reference, right? All 3 elements. Those are the 3 rules that you absolutely must know and memorize and apply every time you do any kind of writing. And remember that it's not just in the academic setting that we want to give credit to our sources. Anytime you're doing anything professional in a business setting, or anytime you're writing or speaking or passing along any kind of information, you have to give credit to the source, right? We don't want to steal information. We don't want to violate anyone's intellectual property rights. We give them credit. Okay, so 3 rules. Again, you can use someone's words, just their words and their 3 elements. You can use just someone's thoughts, ideas, and concepts, right? That's the second option. There are 2 elements. Or you could use someone's words along with their thoughts, ideas, and concepts. A lot of times with the option number 3, with the combination, a lot of times students will start and end the conversation and put the entire sentence or the entire passage in quotation marks. I personally hate this. It seems very lazy. It doesn't properly enhance the author's vision in any way or what the author was getting to. If it's one of my students that do that, I will give the assignment back to them and ask them to redo those portions. So the better way is to put at least a part of the sentence in your own words and then leave just the most important words in quotation marks. Okay? And that's a good way to combine someone's words, thoughts, ideas, and concepts, is you're getting the thought of what they're saying, or their research, or their statistics, or their information. You're using just their most important words, and everything else is rephrased as it's been processed by you. Okay? So those are the 3 rules. Now that you know and have memorized these rules, we'll learn how to apply them, and you will never have a problem with plagiarism.